All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Millennial Trades. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I hope you spent it with family. Hope you spent it in reflection. And I hope we all remember what Christmas is actually about this year, because the sort of consumerist, agendas that are pushed around this time of year have nothing to do with the reason that we celebrate this holiday. But I won't get into all of that in this video today. And I do want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel as well. We reached 2,000 subscribers on this channel for the first time ever over this holiday season. So thank you for supporting. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments. I've seen more and more of you guys commenting lately, some of your opinions or questions, and it's all appreciated. And follow me on Instagram at Millennial Trades. So I want to keep this video real short. I'm holding an overnight position. Holding a position over the weekend. I'm short on PayPal. I've got PayPal puts, the $67 puts. And I accumulated this position over Friday afternoon, just maybe with the intention of just seeing kind of what happens going into the next week, okay? We've got a very low trading volume week coming up. Last week of the year is usually very low volume. One of my boys on Instagram basically said that he doesn't think we're going to see new lows this year unless there's some crazy selling pressure from the institutions next week. I'm not saying that that couldn't happen, but it does seem maybe a little bit unrealistic to expect brand new lows on the S&P 500 or on the NASDAQ before the end of the year. Now, despite that, I'm still feeling incredibly bearish on the market for next week. Okay, you had the housing numbers last week. I think it was the home sales unexpectedly surging. That information came out like Thursday or Friday. And as bullish as that is for the housing market, it couldn't be any more bearish for the stock market, because it really does indicate that the interest rate hikes are not quite working. They're not cooling down the housing market. At least this is what the Fed is going to say in February, that the housing market is still strong and we need to cool this down even more. So maybe they'll go past that 5% terminal rate. Maybe they'll go up to 6 or 7%, or maybe they'll just simply keep the rates elevated for much longer than the market is pricing in right now. One can really only speculate. But that being said, you also had the PCE data that came out on Friday. PCE inflation actually ticked up 0.5%. So that's not good. That's definitely not something the Fed is going to want to see, right? Especially if there's hope of them pivoting or cutting rates or any of this kind of nonsense. So the data last week, in my opinion, is bearish on the market, just in general, going forward. This last week of the year, could we get a little bit more downward momentum? I think it's possible, especially on some of the individual stocks. If you look at some of the charts like PayPal and Amazon, which I will show you guys, I definitely think it's possible. Now, on top of all of that, you have the bond market, which has just been selling off this year. I mean, I think the 10-year Treasury prices are down 16% on the year. Yields rising, not just here in the United States, but in Germany, in the UK. So typically when you see yields rising and bond prices plummeting, not a good thing for stocks, right? Typically. There are, just because something's happened in the past, that doesn't mean it has to happen the same way in the future. And I know we have the dollar down a little bit too. The dollar, I think, is up around 9%. It was up much more than that. I think it was up closer to 10% or to 20%, maybe 22% at some point in the year here. And of course, this isn't loading. But anyways, I'm looking at the dollar. Dollar's kind of consolidating right now. Definitely looks like the dollar could, start popping back up at some point in time. When you see consolidation, especially for a period of days, it does leave a little bit more room for some volatility to the upside or the downside regardless. But those are some of my macro reasons right now why I'm so bearish going into the next week, and just bearish in general on the markets. I mean, to me, it just seems like there's no legitimate reason for the markets to rally next week, unless they're trying to destroy all of the put positions and they're just going to, rack the market up another 5 or 7% next week, which I suppose is possible. But again, I don't see it happening. All right. You guys let me know what you think. I just don't see that happening. If anything, I think we're going to chop around or make new lows. And that's why I'm short on PayPal. That's why I'm playing the short side here. I do think the dollar market is either... I think it has actually... Is it trading right now? I think Forex is trading right now. Futures will be open too in about 10 minutes. As far as the economic data goes next week, not a lot of events, right? Just the jobless claims, some housing index information, and the Chicago PMI. Other than that, what else is really going to move the market other than just all the pessimism, all of the the negativity, the interest rate hikes, the next FOMC meeting, what is the Fed going to do? Are they going to raise interest rates? Or are they just going to keep them elevated? There's so many questions. Again, give me a legitimate reason why the market should rally next week. Not that the market needs a legitimate reason, but for everybody that's expecting, some people are still expecting this Santa Claus rally that didn't happen last week to somehow happen at the end of the year, the last 4 days of the trading year. And if that was a Santa Claus rally on Friday, I mean, that was, Santa brought us a stocking full of chop. A stocking full of chopped onions is what Santa brought us this year. I really didn't like the rally at all. That's why I just can't go long on it. So let me go ahead and pull up the screen share here. So we're looking at NASDAQ futures here. This is the NASDAQ futures on a daily. Let me just get rid of a couple of these lines here. This is a daily chart, all right? Yes, you had a little bit of a bottoming wick. The bottoming wick is a little bit longer than this top wick here. You also, didn't quite make a new low from the previous day. But again, it's not very bullish. All right, I think it's quite possible. I mean, if you just look at this little trend line here, just recently from the past week or so, and unless we can break up above this, I don't see why there isn't any reason why this NASDAQ can't come back down here to at least test some of these levels, at least come deeper into this demand zone, right, where it shot up over here. Next week, I think it's definitely possible. Maybe we'll make a green candle. Maybe we'll make a little hammer candle. Who really knows? But again, I think it's possible we're going to make a red candle on the daily tomorrow. Now, if you look at something like a 15-minute chart on the NASDAQ futures, what I don't like is this wedge. Okay, this sort of formed... it's actually more of an ascending triangle. It's not even a wedge, which makes it even worse, right? The ascending triangle, could this open up in a few minutes or maybe tomorrow start popping up to the upside? It's definitely possible. I'm hoping it doesn't do that. Again, it's not a perfect place for a wedge pattern to be. But, we did kind of make this low a couple of days ago, kind of retested the low. Didn't really do a lot. It was just very choppy on Friday, and then we formed this little wedge. And then this ascending triangle, I guess you would call it. Look at the SPY futures, if we can get these to come up here. Again, the SPY looks almost exactly the same. This is TD Ameritrade, by the way, and I'm looking at SPY futures, which is ES, or NASDAQ futures, which is NQ. And my program's getting a little laggy here. But again, another sort of ascending triangle. I don't particularly like this for my put position on PayPal, because if the NASDAQ do start breaking up to the upside, who knows if we're going to make it back down by the end of the week. And I'm going to have a serious decision to make tomorrow as to whether or not I get rid of these puts or not. So just looking at PayPal, all right, what I like about this chart, and one of the reasons I was shorting this on Friday, is because we do have this supply zone. Actually, in fact, this is a new supply zone that formed, I guess that would have been Thursday, right? Because we had that huge drop all day, pop back up, all right? And then you can see on Friday we came into the supply zone in pre-market, sold off, came back in, sold off, came back in, sold off, and now we're right there. We ended Friday, at least on PayPal, in the supply zone at around the $69 area. All right, let me just see how long this has been going. 9 minutes, not even 10 minutes yet. We're making good timing. So, my belief is that we will not break this supply zone. All right, my belief is that we will continue lower next week. I mean, that's why I put the trade on. Obviously, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right, and I'm not saying, you guys know, nobody can predict this stuff. There's no way to predict it. But again, just not very strong. Look at the daily on PayPal. You've got 4 green candles where it wasn't able to do anything. The strongest candle was Friday, where it had that long wick from like 66.39 and closed back up here almost at 69. And then look at, that was Thursday's action. Look at Friday's action. We got this wick here from 3 days ago, this topping wick. It just seems to me that PayPal could open up in this supply area and bam, get forced down at least to test some of these lows again, if not make brand new lows on the year. Because I do think that was the low for the year. It was the 66.39. Why can't we go to 65 or 60? Why couldn't we put a big red candle here? If you look at the economic data and you look at the bond market and you look at the housing market and you look at what the Fed has said, to me, there just doesn't seem to be any legitimate reason why this market should be rallying this week. So with the $67 puts, as long as we get down to 68.50, 67.50, I mean, it depends on how fast we go. But if we open up tomorrow and just start shooting down and I'm deep in profits, you better believe I'm going to be taking these profits, because this has been nerve-wracking holding it over the weekend. But again, you got to take risks. You only live once, and sometimes you got to put some overnight risk on the table, right? And then Amazon, right? This is the other stock that I usually trade. We kind of had this, I guess you would call it a descending triangle. And this pattern, this is on a higher time frame, right? Because these are daily candles here. But you can see this sort of descending triangle pattern, wedge, whatever you want to call it. Did kind of break that. And look at the price action from the last couple of days. So on Friday, we opened below the closing price of Thursday and closed below the opening price of Thursday. Now, we did make a new high. We beat Thursday's high, and we did not beat Thursday's low. But just looking at this, I mean, it's going to take a lot for this momentum to continue next week, and especially if we have low trading volume and sentiment is bearish and the economic data is pointing towards more bearishness. Why couldn't Amazon put in another couple of red candles? Again, you got to look at these on the weekly too, right? Let's look at the weekly chart. This could definitely fill out on the week, right? I'm sorry, this was last week. We could definitely see another red candle form. Could we see a green candle pop up and boom? Could it go to, $94? I guess that's possible, but there's no legitimate reason for the market to do this next week. So on Amazon, I'm expecting more downward momentum going into the new year. On PayPal too, let's just look at the weekly chart, right? The weekly doesn't look terrible because you do kind of have this, I guess this could be a turnaround candle, this kind of cross-looking candle here. But again, it's not green. It's still red. The sellers could pop back in tomorrow and start pushing all of this down. So last thing we'll look at is DXY. All right. The DXY, we'll just have to see. To me, this is, because we're right here at this demand area on the dollar. Could we come down here? If we do, that's probably going to help the stock market, or at least help the stock market from not falling anymore, right? If the dollar index comes back down to these levels here, where it was, I guess, in June. So if that happens, that's going to help prop the stock market up. But if it doesn't happen and the dollar has a green candle this week, I think we're going to see these stocks really, really struggle. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. A little bit of a different kind of video. We have the screen share on. I want to incorporate that more into these videos. I'm a little bit tired tonight. I overate, so if my thoughts seem a little bit jumbled, It's just been a long weekend, a lot of food. I've got a lot on my mind. Am I stressing out about this trade? I'm not stressing out, but I am excited to figure out what's going to happen because I'm looking to exit this trade tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest. I do not want to be holding these contracts to expiration on Friday because even if I'm down, I can still get some of my premiums back if I don't hold them to zero. And this is the thing with options. Once you experience that volatility and your options go in your favor, you need to take advantage of that volatility. So we'll talk all about this. We'll talk more about this in depth going into future videos. But I just wanted to show you guys what I was looking at, some of the news items I'll be looking at or that I'm keeping track of. There was one other story too about de-dollarization in these global markets. But we'll talk about that on another video because I don't want to hold you guys up. Good luck tomorrow if you are going to be involved in these markets. And regardless, I'll see you back over here on this channel after the market closes tomorrow. I'll be posting shorts as well. Follow me on Instagram at Millennial Trades. And Happy New Year if I don't see you again. But hopefully I see you before the new year. And as always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video.